Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 191, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
How are you doing this lovely Tuesday night?
I am sore, big time sore.
Well, that's what happens when you go do all that, like, big, lifty, crossfitty stuff.
Yeah, and you're old, and your body hates you for it.
Yeah, well, my body hates me for it, and I don't even do it, so...
Preemptive hating, huh?
Yeah, it's just one of those natural things. It just says, screw you, I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, so CrossFit's still going good for you? You still enjoying it?
I do enjoy it. It's, like I said, you get sore. Even after doing it for a few months, you still get sore because they just keep ramping it up. As you make improvements, they just make it harder.
Yeah, I can understand that. You know what? Can you give me a check and make sure that this is coming in loud and clear?
Check.
Yep, it's there. That's just other stuff's not going up and down like it normally does, but all the other meters seem to be working, so we should be good.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, the recording part looks good. Our stream health is healthy, and OBS is telling me, yes, you are talking. So, I guess that's really all that really matters, right?
Absolutely.
So, some announcements that we should make. First of all, we need to give a shout out to our podcast arcade buddies at Underground Inc. For the good and bad times that I guess are going on for the month of September. They're having a hard time right now. They're getting through some stuff, dealing with some personal things, and they promise that they're going to get new episodes up soon. So bear with them. Those guys have a great show and are a lot of fun to listen to. So if you are big fans of them, hang in there. There's more stuff coming. Also, we had mentioned last week about Goad Kicker kind of going away. Well, that might have been a little preemptive. It's not going away. It's just morphing into a semi-regular when Carl can segment on Falcon Punch Thunder Dads, which is a podcast arcade show done by Justin and Eddie. And so you can, if you liked the Goad Kicker, you have to go check out Falcon Punch Thunder Dad, and you will find out more on there on when they're going to be going up, when he will be on there. And I want to say the last episode he's actually on there. I haven't listened to it yet, but I believe he is on the last episode. So
he is. Yes, he is.
There you go. So podcast arcade stuff. We don't die. We just change into something else. We get reincarnated. That's what I was looking for. It would be good if I could come up with these words before I open my mouth.
Well, maybe you should have a dictionary, Too bad there isn't a way that you can connect with other servers throughout the country where you could look stuff up like that.
Yeah. Or I could just use a brain that I don't seem to have.
Using your brain's overrated.
Ooh, that's rough. It's rough. So I did see that Holly's World has a new podcast up, and I believe it was a wrestling podcast.
It is. Speaking of Underground Inc., Billy Peck of said Underground Inc. Guest starred on Holly's World podcast, and they talked wrestling.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that one because I can only imagine the conversations that went on between Billy and Holly about wrestling.
Oh yeah, I was in the room while they recorded. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that one. That's going to the top of the list. Let's see, some Geekvice housekeeping stuff. Be sure to go subscribe to our stuff. Geekvice Gaming is still going live. We've had episode 2 episodes up. We've got a few more coming. It's XCOM 2 Long War 2, which is a supported mod. For XCOM 2, it makes that game and into an extremely long, very almost RPG-ish tactical mission type game. So it's a lot of fun if you like turn-based strategy games and you like stuff that takes place in kind of a modern day scenario. Not a fantasy type game. It's more modern. You've got machine guns and shotguns and Gatling guns, and you do end up upgrading things to like plasma rifles and some more futuristic stuff. But you're dealing with shooting aliens, so if you like shooting aliens, you should check out that show. So that's Geekvice Gaming on our YouTube channel. Go find it at tiny.cc/Geekvice. But other than that, you've been reading books like without pictures?
Believe it or not, there's not one picture in the book I read.
Oh, jeez, man. Oh, jeez. I don't know if I can really like talk about this stuff.
It's true.
All right. Well, I was reading a little bit of the Goodreads kind of synopsis of this thing, and damn, this thing sounds really kind of good.
Well, it is good. I will go ahead and start off with that. It's kind of one of those endings to a book you didn't see coming, and it also takes a turn 3/4 of the way through you didn't see coming that changed the whole tenor of the book. But before we get into that, what we're talking about is Nemesis. There it is. By Brendan Reichs. And as Morph said, there's not one picture in this book. I mean, it's actual type. I actually read a book, and it's a long book. It's 440 pages.
Wow.
So there you go. But it's a page turner, if you will. It focuses on two main characters. A girl named Min, which is short for Melinda, who is basically a trailer park dweller. Comes from a broken home, lives with her mom, not the wealthiest people on the planet. And the other one is Noah, whose family happens to be the richest family in town.
Oh, always good.
And the book is written with alternating points of view. One's from Min's and then the other one's from Noah. But when you first start reading the book, you think Min is the main character the whole way through. And then Noah's point of view starts coming in about 1/3 of the way into the book. So every chance this book gets to kind of throw you off where you think you know what's going on, it does it. So what goes on, I'm not going to give too much away, but I will tell you kind of what's going on in the book, and that is there's two things at the beginning of the book. One, every other year since Min was 8 years old, she gets murdered by a guy in a black suit.
Okay.
And then she wakes up in a field on the outside of town a couple hours later and then walks home. Of course, she can't tell anybody what's going on because they all think she's crazy. And, of course, she has to see a psychiatrist, and she's on meds and all this other stuff. But no matter what she's tried, every even year on her birthday, the guy in the black suit finds a way and kills her. The second thing going on is there's this great big asteroid called the Anvil, and preliminary calculations says it's going to hit the Earth, and it is a planet killer.
All right.
So they've got all of that going on.
So it's not like there's a lack of things going on that's kind of screwing up this little this setting.
No, no, this little town in, I think it's
Idaho.
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 Yeah, Idaho, called Fire Lake. And, you have your typical teenage stuff. You've got the popular boy who's a bully, tries to run the whole school. You've got the good-looking poor girl in Min. You've got her sidekick best friend guy who has a crush on her named Tack. His real name is Thomas, but because of a horrible prank in school, he got nicknamed Tack. You can only imagine what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then of course Noah is the spoiled rich kid. Nobody understands. Hangs around with the popular people, but acts like he really doesn't want to be there. So you've got your whole stereotypes going on in this little town.
Sure. Wow.
So the whole world's in hysteria. There's a big news conference coming where the final calculations by NASA are supposed to take place, and then they find out whether the anvil is going to strike the Earth or miss.
I like that they call it the anvil.
Me too.
I mean, like, yes, that's interesting. So, I mean, do they spend the part of this? Just reading this and having you tell me kind of a little bit about it, does it feel like this book has just too much going on in it?
Actually, no, because the way the author handled it, it was broken down in segments. So the book starts off with men getting killed and then waking up in a field. And then you find out about the anvil. And then they kind of take care of the anvil story. And then things start to move on towards other features of what's going on. So that's what, after the anvil whole thing, then you start seeing things from the point of view of Noah, who also gets killed every 2 years on his birthday.
Oh.
But he wakes up in a cave on the outskirts of town. But he thinks they're dreams. The psychiatrist thinks they're dreams and, of course, has him on all these drugs. He's tried everything as well. He even 1 year for his birthday got on a boat, went out in the middle of the lake where nobody could get to him, and he still gets killed. The man in the black suit shows up in his own boat, does his thing, and that's that.
Okay.
So, without giving too much away, after the anvil incident and all this other stuff, some weird things start to happen as far as secret government agencies in gray trucks with black, like starburst symbols on the side show up in town real late at night and then go into this part of the woods that has been pretty much cordoned off from the general public, and it's the secret military base back there. And you start realizing that, okay, as Min starts finding out, something that the government is doing has something to do with what's happening to her. And then, of course, her and Tack decide they're going to find some things out. So they break into her psychiatrist's office, find files, read through things, and they find out they're part of a government experiment called Nemesis.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Cool.
now she knows, okay, these government trucks, all this shit going on has something to do with why she's being killed, and she wants to find out why she's being killed and see if she can't stop it or whatever, is going on. And then it kind of goes on for a long time with Noah being from a different group of kids, but they're kind of attracted to each other because they have the same problem going on. So there's a little bit of their paths crossing quite a few times. You know, he's still not really figuring out what's going on, but she's starting to put the puzzle pieces together. He's one of those kids that once times get tough, he just kind of locks up.
Gotcha.
He becomes completely worthless. And of course, she's the opposite. Times get tough, she steps up to the challenge. So their paths keep crossing. She keeps putting puzzle pieces together. Eventually, things happen to where they start working together as a team, much to the chagrin of the other popular kids and stuff like this. So, of course, it creates that kind of tension that you'd expect in a Romeo and Juliet kind of setting. And, man, I want to tell you more, but it gives so much away that I can't. All I'll tell you is it takes a turn. You figure out why things happen. It happens, and then it becomes a kind of a Lord of the Flies situation where there are no adults anywhere now. And of course, the popular kid named Ethan that was the bully and all this other stuff has kind of taken over. His dad owned the grocery store. He controls the food. He now controls the whole town. We have this Lord of the Flies thing going on.
Okay.
Which I did not really like. I don't like that kind of thing.
Right.
Because my whole thing is the only reason anybody has any power in this world is because we let them.
Right.
And here we are in this little small group where you outnumber the popular kids, you know, probably 5 to 1, 6 to 1,
and
but you still just let them run roughshod over you. And
yeah.
I dislike that. You know, the whole time I'm thinking, you know, if I was there, I would just sneak into his room in the middle of the night and just kill him. You know, I didn't a threat. I just take him out. But nobody, yeah. Of course, nobody does that.
Right.
So that goes on for a little bit. Thankfully, it doesn't go on for a long time, but it goes on for a little bit, and then you get your, I guess, finality. You kind of find out more. But I will tell you that it ends abruptly. You get just enough answers to feel satisfied, but it ends where you still want more and you realize, oh, there's another book. And yes, there is another book. I don't know when it comes out, but it's called Genesis, and I will read it.
Let's see.
I highly recommend this book if you don't mind the tenor changing on you 2 or 3 times. You think you know what the book's about, then boom, this happens, and now it's a totally different book, and then boom, this happens, and now it's a totally different book.
Yeah.
And then boom, you kind of get answers to why everything went the way it did, but then not everything. It's like, son of a gun. Okay, I have to read it. But it was so good that I'm a slow reader, and Sunday I had, I don't know, like 125 pages left to go, and I read them all Sunday afternoon, finished the book. I just was like, okay, I got to know. I'm not going to put this down and then wait 3 or 4 days when I actually have time again. I'm going to read the whole thing, so I did.
Come on.
I liked it quite a bit. I would recommend it. The best part about it is on the cover.
Stop. Oh, I hate fucking ads that play.
Oh, man. Anyway, before we were rudely interrupted, the book jacket says, he killed me not, he killed me. And that is really the first half of this book.
Yeah.
It really is. And then the book changes, and, you know, and if you get frustrated by that, then I'd say don't read this book. But if you're good with that, I mean, the characters don't change, but the whole mystery does.
Right.
You don't get an answer to the first mystery, and you have to move on to the second mystery, and that becomes all encompassing. And then you have to move on to the third mystery without satisfying the first 2. And then at the end, you kind of get an answer to all of them, but not completely, and you know it's going to be picked up in the second book, and you're like, man, I wish I didn't read this until the second book was out. But that's okay. I think it's coming out soon.
Yeah,
because I
actually,
saw where
that's
advanced copies have been out to reviewers. So
yeah, and that's actually what I was looking at. I had clicked on the link on Goodreads to pull up the second book, Genesis, and that's where the ad was deciding to play, which is also jacking with my bandwidth because ads are stupid and suck up bandwidth. Um, but that book comes out March of 2018, so not
oh,
far
it's
away
not
at all.
terribly far away.
No, you've just got a few months to wait, and that will be there in the stores for you soon. So, which means it'll be in the libraries even faster. So,
That's
or I guess
right.
about the same time. So, yeah, that's awesome. That book sounds really cool. It kind of sounds very interesting, and even the little synopsis stuff that they were giving for Genesis said that it was Lord of the Flies meets the Matrix. So very curious on how that really fits together and what comes of
Yeah,
that. So interesting.
the whole Lord of the Flies thing, I'm hoping not, because they kind of made it moot at
Right.
the end of Nemesis. It still exists, but the power that was held over those kids is gone. So I'm not sure how they're going to deal with that.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I'll be fascinated. I can't tell you how the power is gone. I just give it all
Sure.
away.
Sure.
But the
I
power is gone, so I'm curious to see how they continue the Lord of the Flies thing. Unless all these kids are sophomores in high school, maybe they're just that dumb. I don't
yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Guess we'll find out.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, while you were sitting around reading books, I was sitting around watching movies over this last week.
Yay!
Yeah, my wife had some surgery done, and so she was recovering. And when she's recovering, somebody has to make sure she's not up doing stuff, because the last time she was supposed to not be doing stuff. She was pregnant with our second child, and pregnant women are not supposed to be around paint and the paint fumes and things like that. No, my wife decided she was going to paint the kitchen while I wasn't home. She was supposed to be at home resting, and instead she was painting the kitchen.
Maybe that's
So
resting for her.
yeah, so I made sure I stayed home. I got us some movies, and I made her sit on the couch and watch movies with me. So, and as much as my wife likes chick flicks, she also is a big fan of action type movies, and so that is one of the reasons why her and I enjoy seeing movies together, because I really can't stand chick flicks. Um, But so we watched three movies this week. I'm gonna start with some of the older movie. I'll start with the oldest movie and work my way forward. I think this is how this is gonna go. So first, we're gonna start with John Wick Chapter 2. Um, if you saw John Wick Chapter 1, then you gotta like John Wick Chapter 2. If you like John Wick, if you like the
Okay.
first one, you're gonna like the second one. They're not that far apart, and they refer to each other several times, or I guess refer to the first one several times. So they know that it's pretty much the same thing, rinse and repeat. But still, um, now I don't know if anyone has seen Keanu Reeves's like videos that have been put up on Facebook about his like ranch. He has a ranch. He's a big gun enthusiast. He's a NRA supporter and likes guns a lot. When you watch this movie, if you haven't seen those videos of Keanu Reeves actually going through and doing the shooting stuff, like the shooting range stuff that he does in his own, like on his own property, um, you will see he knows exactly what he's doing. When he is handling the guns, the way he handles the guns, and the way he moves around in John Wick Chapter 2, especially that one. The first one I didn't notice it as much, but the second one you can really tell because it's a lot of him moving and shooting. It is very precise. It is very trained. It is like he knows what he's doing when he's doing it, and so it's kind of fun watching it. It's not the um, it, it's not the stuff that is done for most movies with guns. This was, you could tell this was done right. So I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was. I mean, I enjoyed the first one, so I enjoyed the second one. But it's also nothing to write home about either.
Okay, so I really liked the first one.
Yeah.
I didn't like the second one so much.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I felt like it was missing something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I don't know. There was something about that first one about, like when the John Leguizamo's character is talking to the Russian mob boss.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why did you punch my son?" He's like, "Well, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog." And he's like, "Oh." And just,
Yeah.
it was like, "Oh, man, you effed up big time." That feel was never in this one. This
That
one
is
more
true.
felt like he was more hunted than the hunter,
Yes.
which was too bad. I mean, I really enjoyed the John Wick
Yes.
being, getting his revenge
Right. Right. And
more than other people trying to kill him.
this one, the motive for John Wick wasn't as sentimental as the first one. The first one, the whole reason he was doing it was because he was mourning the death of his wife, basically, and somebody screwed up his life. His chance to mourn. They ruined his chance to mourn. Didn't leave him alone, and he then had to go basically take it all out on that guy. So yeah, the first movie was kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit, even for a just use 4,000 bullets and kill everybody type movie. It tugged at the heartstrings, but and the second one didn't have that. I will agree there. It was missing that element of it, but I enjoyed the kind of the tactical side of it. The way it handled the gunplay and the fighting in that one, I thought was actually really good. I'm not as, they kind of left it open to where, maybe there could be a third one. I don't know that I really want there to be. I kind of want them to just leave it at what it is, but the second one made so much money, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a third one.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with that. Um, Honestly, I would love to know the body count between the two movies.
Oh yeah, there's a website out there that'll. Gosh, I know I've heard it in one of the other podcasts, some of the other podcasts that I listen to. I had heard something along the like, but there's a website that actually keeps track of number of deaths in a movie. Um, and there's some criteria that they have to follow. That it's like it doesn't, the wound that it takes on screen has to be severe enough that that they could die from it type thing, and
Uh,
um, you know to actually count as a death if they don't die on screen. So, but I'll have to see if I can't find that and look that back up. We can, we'll put something. Maybe we'll put something up on the Facebook feed if I can find it. But yeah, there's a lot of bodies. Um, and I think the second movie, as far as the heartstring and like trying to give that sentimental reason, I think they tried to do that with the basically the chick that John Wick was first sent to kill, to basically get rid of this marker. Um, but they, much like any of the John Wick, either of the John Wick movies, it left a lot to like. You didn't get enough backstory to really feel sentimental about why John Wick really didn't want to kill her. Um, so that would have, I mean, I think that if they would have developed that part of it a little bit more, then it might have helped with your motive issue that you had. So it might have been that one little piece that was missing for that second movie.
It could be. And it's one of those as well. And this happens to me a lot, and that is I'll watch a movie, The Mummy, the first Brendan Fraser Mummy movie. I saw it in the theater and absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I went with a large group of people, and I was the only one in that group that hated it. Everybody's like, "Oh, that was a lot of fun. I really liked that." I was like, "Really? I thought it stunk." But I gave it a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance, and I liked it better every time I watched it to the point where I actually really liked the movie. But my first reaction was I hated it. So maybe John Wick 2 will be one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. It could be. The other movie that I went and watched, or that we saw, was Transformers: The Last Night. So I watched this movie, and I wasn't going to watch it. I had just said, you know what, I'm done with Michael Bay after the last one. I'm not seeing another Michael Bay movie, and I will actually put out there. I have said previously on this, I will never pay to see another Michael Bay movie. I didn't
You
pay
have.
to see this movie, so I will flat out tell you, and I won't even feel bad about it. I stole this movie off the internet to watch it because my wife wanted to watch it. I still have stood by my principles. I will not pay to see a Michael Bay Transformers movie. Um, so, with that being said, this movie had parts of it that I felt were redeeming. Um, there were parts of it that I thought were where I felt like they were trying to give a story. There were parts of it that I felt like they were trying to connect things together from all the previous movies that, in my opinion, weren't. Like, they did a shitty job of trying to connect these things together in the first place. I gotta say, Anthony Hopkins, his character in there, I wanted more. I wanted
Oh yeah,
more of him.
you can never have enough Anthony Hopkins.
Well,
That's for sure.
and I wanted to know more, like, where he, like, who is he? Like, he's Sir Edmund Burton, but and they try to give it to you in that quick little, here's the family tree, here's the stuff, but that was about the Witwickens. He's not a Witwicken. Like, so was he, like, one of the, like, how did he get in? Where was he in this family tree? Like, why was he the last surviving member other than, you know, Vivian, Laura Haddock, which she was really well done. Like, wow. Let's just put it that way. If you're going to watch this movie, at least watch the parts that she's in it. Let's just put
You're
it.
sounding more like me all the time. That's kind of sad.
I mean, wow. um, Mark Wahlberg was Marky Mark. I mean, I don't dislike him in movies that he's in. I think he does just fine. I liked the fact that they called back Josh Duhamel from the
Yes.
first one. I don't think he was in any of the others. Maybe the
I
second
can't remember
one.
if he was in the second one or not. I can't remember.
I think he was in the second one, but only slightly. But
Only slightly.
yeah, I liked him being in it. I kind of liked the idea. I liked a little bit of what they did with tying this into ancient times and that the Transformers have been there a long time. I liked the fact that they brought in Quintesson. Um, I did. I still. Okay. Spoiler warning. Because I don't care if anyone else sees this movie. I don't like that they have what they've done with the planet Earth, and that it is the planet eater. Um, like, I thought that was kind of lame. I thought it was a way for them to try to. I feel like it's trying to make. It's I don't know. I just didn't like it. I I didn't like that story part of it. It's not my favorite part of the thing of Unicron as a character was there in the 1985 movie as this super big bad that was causing the end of the world. In this movie, it's just something that's there. It's not even a big bad. It's not alive. It's not anything. It's just there. So why did it need to be there? They could have done. They could have done this same story without changing anything other than removing Unicron from the story completely, and just changed that Cybertron needed to come to Earth to suck the energon out of the Earth, needed to take the minerals and the life force out of the Earth in order to rebuild itself. They could have just done that and been fine, and there would have been no Unicron. Um, Maybe there, internet says that they've planned these things out for way more movies, just not with Michael Bay. Maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe there's a end result to this, but I didn't like it. Um, I thought the movie as a whole was okay. It was better than the last Transformers movie. So which one was that one? What is that the? Was that
Revenge
the?
of the Fallen.
Yes, that one. Revenge of the Fallen. It was better than that one, but that movie sucked really bad. Um, was that the one with the Dinobots in it?
Yeah, and then that where they finished up in Egypt, and
Yes.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
horrible.
that was awful. So I mean, yes, this movie was better than that. Was it as good as the first movie? I'd say no, but I also wouldn't put the first movie very high either. The first movie, I mean, the first movie was the best Transformers movie so far, and I still don't rank that very high. Um, None of these movies have come close to the 1985 Cheesecake movie that is, again, not a great movie, but has a way better plot and storyline than any of these movies have had. Um, the you have a bad guy in Megatron that has been um, a bad guy in every single one of these movies. He has been a constant in every single one of these movies, and in this movie they have him in there and he's not the focal point. Like, this has been the bad guy that nobody has really been able to stop. They've only been able to kind of stop him, but never actually been able to stop him, and now he's there and he's not even, it's almost like he's there to make Quintesson look worse, and in my opinion it didn't work because they weren't they weren't ever connected. Like, the only part of it that you had any idea that Megatron was actually working for was that he had red on his face just like Prime did when she took over his mind. Well, Megatron's already a bad guy. Why do you have to take over his mind? Like, there were some things in the story that to me, watching it as a Transformers fan, I didn't like. But and I've decided that I really don't like Michael Bay's editing. I don't like the jumping back and forth. I don't like the way his action scenes just seem to explode all over the place. Maybe I'm just over that. I don't know.
Sounds like you are over that.
I don't know. I think maybe I just don't like Michael Bay. I like Michael Bay about as much now as I like M. Night Shyamalan.
Aha! There you go.
So there we go. We made the connection.
We did. We haven't brought him up in a while. But you know what? I'm going to agree with you for the most part. It wasn't the worst Transformers movie. It wasn't the best one. The only part I did not like I mean, like really disliked, not just not liked, was, and I know why they do it. They did it in the first movie. It annoyed me then, and that is when they're kind of introducing the Autobots. Their personalities are so forced
Yeah.
during those introductory moments. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yep.
It's like, oh my god, just stop already.
Oh,
You
I would.
know?
Yeah, there's. I agree with you there. I feel like every character is over the top, and I think it's that way because you can't, since they are robots. You can't. They think you can't get facial expressions out of it. You can still say you can still get their personality out without going so far over the top. Um,
Yes.
and I would say the other thing that is completely and utterly awful and happens in every single Transformers movie: humans don't save Transformers. When did you notice the big scene where Prime is getting ready to stab Bumblebee and you have Marky Mark standing there just laying there in the way going, Optimus, no, don't do this. Like, he's a gigantic robot. You are a measly human being. Get out of the way. Like, at what point, I don't care how knightly he is supposed to be made up to be, that is stupid. You don't get in between two giant mechanical things that are going to smash together. That's just dumb. And like that is probably my biggest criticism with Michael Bay's Transformers movies is the humans play too big of a role.
Well, yeah, because humans are watching the movie. We have to feel good about ourselves.
You can humanize the robots and make them more humanized. I mean, they did it in the cartoon. It can't be that hard. Yeah. So
This is true.
that's probably enough on Transformers. I think I think Eddie and I kind of, I don't know if I hate it as much as Eddie disliked it, because Eddie, I don't think really liked it at all. Um, you can go listen to his stuff on Daydream Instruction Manual because he talks about it in there. Um, so I think I kind of fall in between you and Eddie in the scale, but um, it's a movie. Don't go pay to see it. Don't give Michael Bay any more money to make crap movies. Um, Go find it somewhere else. How about that? Um,
Fair enough.
the other movie that I happened to see was is a fairly new movie out, and that's The Hitman's Bodyguard with Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. I have to say, this movie, for a buddy cop movie, freaking hilarious. Um, I love this movie. This movie was fun. This movie was one when I got done, I was laughing, I was enjoying myself. I actually kind of felt sorry for Samuel L. Jackson's character, and I think maybe my favorite line, kind of like you had talked about with John Wick, that line between Leguizamo and the Russians on, that you enjoyed in that part.
Yes.
The Hitman's Bodyguard has one interchange or one kind of monologue by Ryan Reynolds where he's complaining about Samuel L. Jackson's character, and he makes some comment along the lines of, and he ruins the word motherfucker. I like that, and he ruined motherfucker. Like, that is kind of, it sums it up. This is Samuel L. Jackson at his best. This is Ryan Reynolds at his snarkiest. To kind of set up the whole thing, what it is Ryan Reynolds is a protector. He's a paid bodyguard. He is somebody who, what's it's triple A security service or executive. I can't remember what it is, but he basically used to be in the CIA. He's out of the CIA now. He's in the private sector, and basically people pay him to keep them safe to get from point A to point B type thing. And he's very by the book, think of everything, plan for everything, do nothing off the cuff. And he gets put in a situation where he has to protect Samuel L. Jackson's character, who is a known killer. He's a known mercenary assassin for hire type person, and they've run into each other before. They already don't like each other, and so you have good guy and bad guy having to work together to get from point A to point B to actually stop an even worse bad guy. It's fun. It's just a fun movie. If you like buddy cop type movies, this is definitely the movie for you. That's pretty much all you could say about it. I mean, I could spoil the hell out of this thing, but it's a little too new. It's still in the theaters right now, so I recommend going to see it just because it's fun. And if you like Ryan Reynolds type characters like Deadpool or Van Wilder or any of those, you will like this movie because that's his character. It's still that snarky, smart ass type of comedy, one-liners from him, and Samuel L. Jackson is just the he's just Samuel L. Jackson. If Nick Fury is an assassin, that's Samuel L. Jackson. So,
well, I liked the trailers. I haven't. Okay, so this will surprise everybody. You've actually seen a movie I haven't seen.
amazing.
But the trailers look.
Everybody mark this on the calendar right here. Episode 191, Morph sees a movie before Kip.
Yeah. The trailers looked awesome. It looked like a lot of fun. I haven't seen it. I want to. So I will one day when it comes to a service that I can get a hold of it, like DVD or Netflix or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike certain people, I don't download these things.
Yeah, this is one that we wanted to go see in the theater, and with my wife being told that she needs to stay home and rest, we couldn't go to the theater to see it, so I made the theater come to us.
Gotcha.
And it's good. It's really good. The story really. The story's there, and it's an okay story. It's not an overly complicated story. It's not groundbreaking by any means, but it's fun. It's just a fun movie. So
I think, yeah, I can't wait to see it. So I'm glad you liked it. So it makes me even more pumped to see it.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it doesn't have a great scores in some of the as far as Metacritic and some of that. I haven't looked at Rotten Tomato yet, but I think some of it is because people they come in with this idea that it's more than what it really is. This movie is probably not going to have a sequel. If it does, it's probably really going to suck because there's really nothing there to do anymore for the story. But this story works. And seeing Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds together on the screen is fun, and in a bus full of nuns is even more fun.
All right.
Just go with that. Let's see, one other person that I got to, I believe it's Selma Hayek, is in this movie. She has a little less of a, she's not a huge character in this role, or in this movie, but her character is freaking funny too. I'll just leave it at that. Just take that. Girlfriend of Samuel L. Jackson. So think of who a girlfriend of a hired assassin would be. Smart aleck, sassy, uses if do not take your kids to go see this movie if they and if you don't like curse words, do not go see this movie. Not a lot of blood and gore, lots of shooting and stuff like that, not blood and gore, but a ton of language in this movie.
Well, if you went to see a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson and you're surprised that there's cursing, you probably need to get out more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's that and more. So yeah, it's everything you would expect from those two. So that's it. That's 3 movies. That's what I've seen. You read a book. I watched movies. We're doing stuff like all kinds of out of the norm here.
We do what we can.
We're throwing things for a loop, trying to change things up a little bit. How about that?
That's right. Morph saw a movie I haven't seen. Dogs and cats living together. It's mass hysteria.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is all I've got for this week. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
Oh, man. Where do I begin? Not really. I was just happy that my Huskers won a game.
Yeah.
This day and age, that seems to be more surprising than it should be, but it is. And I actually talked about it earlier this evening. I think I may decorate for Halloween this weekend.
Ooh, there you go.
so
We actually have some Halloween decorations as well. I think that might be going up this weekend. So.
Yeah, since I'm out of town next week and probably won't feel like doing much when I get back, figured now would probably be the time to decorate.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to happen.
There you go. Well, with that, Kip will be out of town, but we're still going to be recording because we're still going to record before he goes out of town. So you can expect us to record a little bit earlier. We used to record on Sundays. We kind of started recording more on Tuesdays. We will be recording on Sunday. So if you are a subscriber to our YouTube channel and you have your notifications turned on, you will get notification when this video, when we start recording this next episode. You can check out the YouTube channel at tiny.cc tiny.cc/Geekvice. I got confused in my head.
I thought we lost connection there for a second.
Nope. I just, my brain just stopped working. You can also check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Geekvice. You can follow us on Twitter, that man at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And, of course, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com.
Geekvice@gmail.com.
Geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.